I began a spiritual life seeking expanded consciousness, or Eastern religion, which was very prevalent back in the 60s and early 70s. I had long hair and whatever. My mother was somewhat distraught because she had the FBI showing up at their house. So I was basically AWOL from the Army and staying in Albuquerque, studying with Ed. His name was Ed Emery. He was a big 6'5" black guy who was like advanced degrees in Kung Fu and had studied Eastern religions. Basically, he got picked up by somebody in the desert who led him to a teacher. He drove a Cadillac and played loud Motown music, but he was a very gifted spiritual man. He had spiritual sight. And he goes over to his library in this shelf of all these books, and he pulls out this one book, and he opens it to this place, and he hands it to me, and he said, "Here, that's what you want to know." So it was drugs and the expansion of consciousness, that you can't use drugs and be on a true spiritual path, because it doesn't take you away from the earthly plane. I went with him to a group called the Holy Order of Mans, and I began studying with them. I decided that I was going to go back to Oklahoma and take care of my military commitment. And I had written out a series of papers about explaining that I was spiritually studying and was seeking to find my way, and that I had become a pacifist and did not believe in war. And I processed an application for discharge as a conscientious projector. I was granted that discharge, an honorable discharge as well. So I went back to Albuquerque. I went into the office of the man who had hired me. He said to me, the FBI was here the day after you left. And I just kind of shook my head and I said, yeah, I can believe that. Within 2 years, I was ordained a priest. The Orthodox Divine Liturgy is a place where you can actually partake of the heavenly kingdom. But the reality that you receive the body and blood of Christ is uncompromised. It's a real presence of God. You want the presence of God. That's the thing about the Orthodox Church, is that no matter how long you've been in it or you've been conscious, there's such depth that you can only begin to scratch the surface of it.